Hi everyone, thank you very much for being here, and hello James. You've been traveling the world. I mean, when we spoke, you were flying from India to Zurich, and then you went to Italy, and now you're here. So it's not just your expertise, it's your life as well that gives you insight into our topic.
I do seem to be permanently on the move, but it's always lovely to be back in Greece.
Oh, we're glad to hear that. So without further ado, I mean, our task is quite difficult. We want you to help us think outside the box. So I was wondering, who do you think tourism is for in 2025 and looking onwards?
I think tourism's for a variety of stakeholders. It is fundamentally for the host country and its population. It's for the colleagues who engage with the tourists. It's for those that live in the community, and it's for the tourist. But it's all of those, and first and foremost, it's for the country and the people of that country.
I find it interesting that you're saying that it's first and foremost for the country, because in Καθημερινή as well, we've written a lot about, especially the Greek summer. And the Greek summer is more than a season, and Greece more than a destination. Sometimes we feel, especially as Greeks, that there's this je ne sais quoi quality to it, this authenticity of the way people live in Greece, that then this is something that attracts tourists as well, besides the history and the pristine beaches. So I was wondering, how do you think that this can be sustained, especially because it doesn't always feel that it's first for the country?
I think it's very important, though one talks about Greece, to remember there's Greece as a whole, and then there are all of the individual component parts, the different islands, the different brands that together represent Greece. And in that context, a number of the conversations we've been listening today have made particular points, and it seems to me the important thing is diversity. There is space for cruise liners, there's space for Airbnb, there's space for short-term lets, there's space for luxury hospitality, there's space for less premium tourism. The important thing is both the willingness of individual communities to have that tourism and for that tourism to contribute back into the community. And that takes a lot of central planning, a lot of organization, as well as the individual investment that a market economy drives.
So you think that it should be more tailored to each specific place, and that should be centrally organized? Is that,
I think it has to be that, because each of the individual destinations, in a sense, has a brand, and they have to decide what that brand should be. One wouldn't want the whole of Greece to move purely into luxury tourism, I don't think. But at the same time, I think that the steps that Greece has made over the last 10, 15 years to move up the value chain from a tourist point of view has been to Greece's benefit, and it should do more to capitalize on that.
I don't think that everyone in the country feels that way, though.
No.
Especially because Greeks are tourists too, and I think that they've been feeling increasingly, every summer after summer, that it's not very easy for them to be tourists in their own country as well, because it feels like tourism is a bit more tailored to high-end clients from abroad.
But I think that's why, again, I say it's the diversity that matters, that it's important there are elements of high-end tourism, and the value that they contribute needs to be highlighted and focused on much more. One of the main points I've heard through the course of the discussion today is a lot of times people quoting numbers in terms of millions of visitors and the absolute number. I think it's very important to think, what are the key KPIs for Greece as a tourist destination as it looks at it, and which are the ones to put the emphasis on? And in terms of the primary focus, I think value per tourist per day, I'm not being precise, but something of that nature is far more important than absolute numbers. And if one remembers that, then one can allow higher volume destinations to thrive in some locations, but then preserves a very much bigger part of the country as a destination. I would take a different example I think of from time to time, the Maldives, which is one of the most beautiful places, archipelagos on the earth. And people often debate, should one create a new island here or there? My belief is that the Maldives benefits from focusing all of its tourist infrastructure investment in the northern element of the atolls, leaving the southern one much less tarnished, and they're therefore able to thrive from a nature point of view and for the few visitors that are able to get there.
So sacrifice, say, Mykonos to save an island like Kythira.
And yet, sacrifice Mykonos, and yet, as we were hearing earlier, the mayor of Mykonos is very much in favour of the volume of tourism. It has spending throughout the day, so the people of Mykonos can also benefit. You can't satisfy everyone everywhere all the time, but by being able to have the diversity of different elements of tourism, the focus on gastronomic tourism, on cultural tourism, on volume mass tourism in certain destinations, it means that the people of Greece also have the choice as to where they travel, where they spend their time, and whether they choose to go to those more popular destinations or other quieter ones.
Yeah. Sometimes they just cannot afford to, because it's not just the destinations, but in any case.
But again, I would say on that sense, I do think there is scope for creating discrimination for people within Greece to give an opportunity for them to be able to travel perhaps, and whether one creates differential pricing is also a possibility, although I know are challenging within the European Union.
But then who should decide that? Should it be the state? Should it be the EU? Should it be each island itself?
Should it be the islands themselves? That is a question that I think is an open question for debate and decision.
So you've told me before that you're not the biggest fan of cruises and of short-term rentals, and we agree on that as well. Do you think that they can be replaced, both of these things, or are they necessary for tourism?
I'm not a big fan of them, but I have tried them a couple of times, and I thought actually the earlier speaker, obviously from a very eminent position in the industry, made some very convincing arguments as to why cruise industry should be permitted to exist. But again, it's niche. It's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 destinations. It shouldn't be taking over the whole of the Aegean, and indeed, hopefully, it isn't. I think one of the biggest arguments made there was in terms of employment, and it clearly makes massive employment contribution, but is that of Greeks. And I think probably the biggest resource we haven't talked about that much today is about people and about the population, the resource of Greece, the degree to which tourism creates employment, and what we are doing within Greece to build up the skills of people within the hospitality industry and to utilize those effectively.
An earlier speaker today mentioned that a lot of people obviously are employed in the tourism sector, but it's seasonal employment and it's a last resort more often than not. It's not, building a career in tourism that has that's not a popular choice for a career for one person. It's just, a way for them to find work for like 6 to 8 months. How do you make the sector attractive again?
I think that goes to the heart of it, actually. It is the fact that when one looks at hospitality, shall I put it in what I would loosely describe as Central Europe, there is a pride in serving in the hospitality sector. It's a sector which is seen as an eminent profession along the lines of being an engineer or a doctor. It's well respected, and people develop long-term careers in that sector and then go out into the world as experts in hospitality. They create that both from a depth of culture, from the training, from the hospitality schools. And I think it's an incredibly valuable skill as well, because although the skills you learn in hospitality are applicable to hospitality, they're also increasingly applicable to many other careers in life today, where AI and digital technology is taking away jobs. The one area of job that will remain is person-to-person interaction and contact, and that is best learnt in the hospitality industry. So building pride, investing in education and hospitality skills, and getting people not only to be able to deliver with personality those skills, as Greeks do wonderfully, but building that up in terms of their own self-esteem so that they can then regard that as a well-paid job with a longer-term career. Because so many great Greek hospitality practitioners work a little bit in Greece and then move off to other locations and other destinations.
But again, can this refer more to the luxury sector?
Say again?
Can this refer more to the luxury section
Sure.
of tourism? So again, it's not tourism for everyone. Even these people who might be educated, in order for them to be better paid, they're probably at the best hotels. But when we spoke on the phone, you said that you think luxury tourism can actually help a place. I mean, in Crete, for example, if there are luxury resorts or luxury hotels, just a few of them, instead of, many.
I think it has a massive part to play, because raising the prestige of the destination raises it for everyone. I think, again, an earlier gentleman referred to Santorini and the fact that there's a brand in China. Santorini in China isn't on the sea, it sits on a lake, but it's still Santorini. That means that Chinese tourism, Chinese visitors wish to come to Santorini. Creating premium destinations, and luxury plays a big part in doing that, then attracts visitors and actually makes the whole of Greece a more attractive proposition for visitors, and one people are willing to pay a little bit more to visit. And ultimately, the benefit to Greece, to the extent one accepts it is a benefit, is generating revenue, generating contribution to the GDP that benefits everyone as a citizen of Greece.
And then how do you retain the authenticity of the place without turning it into, a fun fair?
Again, by differentiating between different destinations. It's so important that one doesn't turn every destination into a volume destination, so that it is possible, as the gentleman from Sifos was describing, you can have local cultural experiences, and one can do that. It's the great strength of having such an archipelago, that each can develop differently, and they don't need to consume into a single amorphous mass. Each can be distinct and different. Some can focus on the volume tourism, some on gastronomic, some on sporting tourism. Yeah. There is the variety, and particularly as you now develop your road infrastructure, opening up parts of northern Greece, which conceptually, there aren't many people who are even conscious of the degree of the mountains in northern Greece, that you have snow in the winter, that it can be a great winter destination.
When we have winter. It hasn't visited us yet.
And I think that actually that element of the shoulder season is so important as well, because by diversifying away from simply thinking of Greece as beaches and sand and sunshine, but as places, I mean, as you know, I was here in Greece last month for a literary festival in the Peloponnese.
Oh, you were in Kardamili?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
And there are these events, whether it's golf courses, well supplied by natural water, so water's another issue I know, whether it's culinary experiences, cultural ones, there's such a diversity that rather than pinpointing the problems on the whole of Greece, it's focusing on the degree which certain areas are willing to accept the challenges of particular industry, enabling others to evolve differently.
Actually, that brings me to my next question. If you were to give a makeover to the Greek brand, how would you change it?
I think I would start from a different place is the key, which is I would start with it as a premium destination, taking your point about the affordability being an important factor, and then look to make more places affordable. I've often observed when looking at the luxury hospitality industry the world over, that the leading exponent of luxury hospitality, in my view, is Italy. And the reason for that is because when one's looking at opening premium hotel destinations, in Italy I can count on the fingers of about 6 hands the places that, for instance, as Mandarin Oriental, I would have been able and happy to open a property. Japan also has an extraordinary culture of luxury hospitality, which it's evolved across the country. That ability, therefore, in Greece to take that and have different iconic positions for each of the islands and the destinations, but starting at a premium point, I think would be extremely valuable.
So you don't think that it's marketed as a premium destination now?
I think it is now, but it's always more, it takes time. I think Greece has done an extremely good job over the last 15 years in moving itself steadily up market, with a number of players in the industry contributing to that, and the fact that there is a differentiation in the destinations, so that some of them have become much more luxury destinations and others more volume destinations. The challenge is to avoid the whole country being absorbed into a volume destination, meaning that the 37 or 38 million becomes targeted at 50 million and then 60 million, and the country gets swamped. When people talk about over-tourism, it's about managing that tourism effectively, whether it's through the gradual release of tourists off a cruise liner into a destination, or how they're managed passing through a city like Athens, how the property portfolio is utilized to ensure that it doesn't feel over-visited, that people are managed into destinations.
And from your experience, can a place get old? I mean, can it be that Greece is now experiencing a touristic boom and bloom, but it cannot last forever? Then the tourists will move on to the next destination, and we as a country will have, you know, put maybe a lot of our eggs in this specific basket.
It can get old, but it doesn't have to. There's a combination of constantly investing and refreshing can ensure that the best destinations will maintain their position. And Greece does have a remarkable opportunity to position itself not only at the top of the world's tourist industry, but hold it there. There can't be another country in the world with the same coastline to land area proportion, with the same natural advantage, locating as it is effectively as the Caribbean of Europe, in absolutely primary position, and a population that is well imbued with the culture of hospitality, even though I've said I think more could be invested in improving that.
And lastly, a few months ago, I interviewed a Swedish researcher who told me that in 60 to 80 years, there will be no tourism. And he said that this is because mostly of extreme weather phenomena and even mountains, like the Alps, for example. There will be no more ski tourism in the Alps, or no more summer tourism in islands, in Greek islands, for example, because there are so many wildfires and droughts, and so on and so forth. So I was wondering, do you think that tourism in general is a finite experience?
I think it is something that people have to earn the right to, and shouldn't be regarded as a human right, which everyone has the right to travel. It is something that from an economics point of view needs to be costed, and people who travel and have luxury destinations need to pay for it. Others should be able to travel, but they're probably not going to be able to do so as freely. I personally believe that tourism, certainly at the luxury end of the sector, is going to continue to be a strongly growing sector, and it's therefore one that is worth investing in, ensuring that that investment also returns effectively to the community. Because from a sustainability point of view, to me, the most important thing is to remember the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals. And whilst carbon footprint is within those 17 goals, it starts with elements of poverty, healthcare, education, gender equality. And those are the important priorities, I believe, within Greece for the electorate and also for the population as a whole. So the sustainable nature of the tourist industry and what it contributes will ensure whether people continue to be willing to countenance tourism. And I think the challenge is in cities like Barcelona and Venice, just to quote ones that others have quoted earlier, is where there's become an imbalance between the degree to which tourists overwhelm the community and how much they actually contribute into the community.
So balance is the key word.
I think so. Balance and diversity.
Thank you very much for this very interesting discussion. Thank you, James.
Thank you.